This is like really my third or fourth false start. Japanese train stations have unique chimes. This is something that you come to a city, you live in the city, and you get used to one chime when the train is coming and when it's about to leave. And then you go to a different city. So I work in Nagoya, so I'm very used to one sound that indicates when the train is coming. Then when the train is leaving, makes a sound, you go to another city, it's a different sound. And it actually is one of those sort of weird, unique train culture things in Japan that turns out to be weirdly cool. Like you don't think about it until you're like, hey, what's that sound? Then the Shinkansen, fastest train in the world. JR East collaborated with Six Tones. Six Tones is a boy band. I am not a boy band fan. I don't know much about boy bands. It's just not my flavor of music. I'm not, shitting on boy bands. If you like boy bands, excellent. So I didn't know who these guys were. I didn't know if their song was any good. But JR East is a Shinkansen station, and they decided we're going to collaborate with Six Tones to use their song Shine With You for Shinkansen departures. The problem was fans of Six Tones wanted to capture the sound of the tone when it was being played because they're fans and they're like, I can get this. So what they're doing is there's a speaker. It's going to be way, way up high because it has to like get everyone in the station should be able to hear it without it being, intrusive. So they were getting microphones and stuff and pushing them like on a stick, on like a selfie stick, way, way, way up to the speaker so they could, capture the sound of this unique chime. It was only going to be played for about 3 months. So there was like a limited time you'd be able to hear it. This may not have encouraged people to take the Shinkansen because you can buy a platform ticket. Kids actually do this a lot. Parents with kids who are really into trains, which is a really big thing. My son was really into trains. You go and buy a ticket to go hang out on the platform, but not actually get on the train. I guess you could get on the train and get off, but if it's a Shinkansen, there's a dude who'll come by and check your ticket. And then you can watch the trains go by. I actually did that. It's a really nice afternoon with your kid. So if your kid's really into trains, taking him to sit on the Shinkansen platform is actually pretty cool. But people are sticking these microphones up by the speaker. Well, okay, that isn't so bad. They're not really like hurting anyone else, except the Shinkansen is run on these cables of electricity. These cables of electricity are incredibly powerful. You don't actually have to touch one physically for a spark to jump from the cable to the big piece of metal you're holding up in the sky right now and actually electrocute a person. So this is now a safety concern because people trying to capture the song are actually putting themselves unintentionally in danger, perhaps the other people around them as well. There's other sort of safety concerns. If I have a big long selfie stick, I could like fall down and hit someone with it, that kind of stuff. So the JRS is going, this isn't safe. We have to stop it. So they actually cut the song. But of course, you want to hear the song. So someone, again, who did this thing that they should not have done has gone and captured the song from the Shinkansen. I have it loaded up right now, so let's play it.
Limited express train number 307 bound for Niigata will depart from platform.
Yeah, we don't need AI voices and stuff. Anyways, you can see they're just using chimes. It's just basically Muzak for the station, but because it was done with this boy band song, people, of course, fans of the boy band, had to try to capture the song. Immediately put themselves in like real physical danger, and that is a problem. And JR East does not want to be responsible for someone electrocuting themselves because of this song. So the song only lasted 2 weeks and now it's gone, making it even rarer that that song was playing. Since we're talking about boy bands, a band member of AE, so it's the English letter A and then the Japanese hiragana for E. So the band's name is AE. So again, I'm not into boy bands, so I actually don't know how to pronounce this. Anyways, his name is Kusama Richard Keita. He's obviously mixed in some way. He was arrested by police for public indecency. This isn't the first time that these guys in boy bands seem to think that they can go around and get naked and everyone's going to love them for it. This is one of the problems with fame. I'm assuming these guys are quite young. They're all in their 20s. They look like they're in their 20s. So I don't want to, that's why I say I assume, I don't actually know. But getting famous at a young age comes with a series of problems, which I find very interesting because you have so many people telling you they love you, that everything you do is right and you're awesome. You get to a point where you think everything you do is good and therefore okay. So you start doing stuff like, hey, I'm drunk at 5:30 in the morning. That's when they actually arrested him. It was 5:30. So this incident probably happened around 4 o'clock in the morning. If he's drunk at 4 or 5 in the morning, it means he's been drinking all night. And he's like, hey, I'm the coolest guy in the world. Everyone tells me everything I do is great. Everybody loves me. Everyone therefore wants to see my peen. So I should do the world a favor. I should do the world a favor and show them my penis. So he did. Then he was held for 2 days. So in Japan, they can hold you up for like 20 days without actually arresting you. So he was held for 2 days. Then he was released. Now, everyone knows this guy was arrested. Everyone knows what he was arrested for. Everyone knows that he's being released. So there's a huge press available for when he's released. So he did the very classic, incredibly deep bow and made an apology. The apology is super standard. I read it and I didn't even write it down because it hits all just the stereotypical. This was clearly written by his PR group. They're like, you have to say, I'm sorry for the trouble I've caused. Sorry for the, I just said I farted. I'm sorry for the trouble I caused all my fans. I'm sorry for the lack of trust I've created. All this kind of. The weird thing to me is he did it in Shinjuku, so you're going to get caught. So he was now at a mental space where he thought, I can do honestly whatever I want, anywhere I want, and everyone will see it and everyone will think it's great. Like he thought he would be celebrated for this. He was drunk, so he wasn't really thinking that clearly, but just, I think fame at a young age puts you in this weird mental space where you actually think you can do whatever you want and there will be no consequences. He has currently, like every person who gets in trouble with the police, been suspended by his management company. He's not necessarily been punished. They haven't broken up the boy band yet, but that actually wouldn't surprise me if this is the kind of thing, if he was just like cut out altogether. Japanese PR management companies do not like to have any trouble at all. And they actually have these clauses in their contracts. They'll be able to cut him from everything from now and probably just replace him in a week. I am going to follow up, but it is a boy band, so I don't 100% really care what happens to him. They're trying to create a maglev train in Japan. This is a Shinkansen, a train faster than the Shinkansen. The Shinkansen goes about 3 to 350 kilometers an hour. The maglev doesn't have any wheels. It's actually going to be on like a line that's magnets, and then the train will be floating above that with other magnets. How do they work? And should be able to hit speeds of over 500 kilometers an hour. So they want to make a train connection between Nagoya and Tokyo. And right now, I think at 300 kilometers an hour, it's an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to go from Nagoya to Tokyo. You will be able to do the exact same trip in 40 minutes. But they want to maximize cabin space. They want to maximize how much space they have in this train car. So they're actually going to have non-reclining seats. So this is something that on airplanes recently, in air rage incidents and stuff like that, people trying to recline their seats and people pushing it up saying, you're imposing on my space. I paid for the seat. I should be able to recline it. They're saying, no, I paid for my space. You're getting into my space, all this kind of stuff. They're like, we're not dealing with any of that. You're going to sit on the train. It is only 40 minutes though. So it's going to be at a slight recline. They say like 15 degrees, I think is what I read. So it's not going to be like perfectly 90 degrees upright. It's going to be like a little bit of an angle. But yeah, I don't know how comfortable that's going to be. They do say they're going to have more plush cushions. So this is going to be expensive. This is going to be more expensive than the Shinkansen because it's the maglev and it goes faster. So you would expect a certain amount of luxury to come with it, but they're saying that they're going to have thicker, fuller cushions that disperse your weight. I don't know if any of that is true, but I actually would be vaguely interested in riding the maglev once. Of course, the plan was to have it roll out in 2027. I guess you can't say roll out because it doesn't have wheels. It's going to have to float out in 2027. There has been a construction dispute because of one area of track they want to make that has actually now delayed it to 2034. So by the time the maglev actually gets going, I will have probably completely lost interest in traveling or even ever leaving my room. Japanese politicians. Masahide Moroi. We've had a lot of right-wing stuff in politics. This is an influence of America on the world that has boistered up right-wing politics. We've talked a couple times on Ninja News Japan about Sanseito, the right-wing Japanese political party that are saying like, we're not really big fans of foreigners. It should be Japanese first, that kind of stuff. They're basically one step away from saying, make Japan great again. which I'm not a big fan of. But Japan has always had these older Japanese conservative politicians who just don't like anyone who's different from them, like not even foreign people, just like if you're different from them in any way, they don't like you. But now they feel emboldened to speak. And that might be the issue we're running into now. So this guy, 56 years old, I think my position on everyone over 50 has been established, that they've all gone insane. I am also in my 50s. So the fact that I am doing this podcast and getting no money for it is actually a form of insanity in itself. During an assembly, so there's all the politicians, they're making their statements. He's talking to the governor and he says straight up, foreigners do not have fundamental human rights. Now, you can believe that. I don't believe that, but you can believe that, but you should be sensible enough as a politician to know that you should not say it out loud. That's actually, to me, the problem. It's not that he thinks that, because I think a lot of old Japanese men think that. You should know enough to be a politician to know what you can and cannot say out into the world at large. If you say it in assembly, it's being recorded, which makes it much harder to backtrack on, which of course is what he tried to do when he started getting in trouble, because like the government's like, hey, we have a base human rights for everybody. Hey, we disagree with this platform because it's going to make us look bad. Like whether, again, agree or not agree is fine. It makes you look bad if you start talking about how like people from other countries don't have basic human rights. This was during a conversation that was focused on foreigners committing crimes in Japan. Now, foreigners in Japan, I think we've hit 3%. So statistically speaking, foreigners, even if they were committing an inordinate amount of crime for their population, would still be a minority of the crime. But that sort of statistical fact gets ignored very quickly. Anytime there's a story, I read a lot of news for Ninja News Japan. Anytime there is a story about a foreigner committing a crime, they always make sure that the very first sentence is person from this country commits crime or foreign person commits crime. That's always the headline because that gets a lot of play in Japan. But it also makes the bias, the media bias that comes into it, strengthens the idea that foreigners commit more crime than other people. They've actually done the study. Within the foreign population, the number of crimes committed per capita is lower than the population at large of Japanese people. So I, every now and then, will not do a news story about a foreigner committing a crime because the headline is not the crime. The headline is that a foreigner did it. But every now and then, it's actually really interesting that a foreigner did do a crime. But I know just from reading Japanese news all the time that most crime in Japan is committed by Japanese people just because of the volume of population. This guy, Moroi, was obviously getting upset because they were talking about foreigners committing crimes. And he's like, foreigners should not have human rights. I don't believe they have basic fundamental human rights. I think they're not humans was probably the next sentence that did not come out of his mouth that he wanted to say. The next day, of course, again, because this is all televised and it's all recorded, he was questioned by a paper and he said, while foreigners have fundamental rights as human beings, they do not enjoy the same rights as Japanese citizens, which is a very interesting differentiation of what he's actually trying to say. So he's trying to softly walk back his statement. So he's like, oh yeah, they have fundamental human rights, but they don't have the same rights as Japanese people in Japan, which is technically true, except the Japanese constitution basically gives everyone a baseline of human rights just because they're human beings and live in a society. I would like to know what human rights that this guy thinks are different between a foreigner being in Japan. So I'm a permanent resident, so let's say me. What rights do I not have that a full-blooded, born in Japan Japanese citizen has? Because as far as I can see, the Constitution says I have all those rights. I deserve all the same rights as a Japanese person based on the fact that I'm a human being. And then the follow-up question would be like, what do you actually want to do about it? Do you actually want to throw all the foreigners out? Do you want to do something worse? Who knows? And of course, he's not going to answer any of those questions. He's just going to backtrack. He was trying to claim that he was cut off during the assembly. So that's why his comments are being taken out of context, which of course is not the case. I need commercial break so I can take drinks of water. Did I not do a number 5? Oh no, I did do a number 5. Every now and then I'm numbering my stories in order and I forget a number. So since we're talking about politicians doing things and Japanese people committing crimes, no, you're right. I do. I need to do that. I need to have a commercial break so I can take a drink of water, It's not vodka. My latest thing is the more specific your assurances are, the more suspicious they can come. So if I say, this is water, not rum with a twist of lemon that's been shaken, not stirred, that makes you think that it's vodka with a twist of lemon that's been shaken, not stirred, because of the assurance. So if I say, hey, sleep really well tonight. I hope you're feeling really good. No one's going to come into your room at night around 4:35 a.m. with a sickle and try to cut your head off. Sleep well. That assurance, which is not going to happen, makes you think that that is absolutely going to happen, which is terrifying. Something that's been rolling around in the back of my head. There's a really good joke there somewhere. This would be like maybe one sketch. And it's just like the guy making assurance after assurance of things that are absolutely not going to happen. Like, you're not, hey, can you take the dog for a walk? You're not going to get picked up by aliens who are going to anal probe you for 52 weeks and then return you with a memory wipe so that you won't know what happened. And then you're just going to feel really strange. And then like something will burst out of your chest. Thanks. So if you can do that really smoothly, and then the person goes out and then they come back and they're like, yeah, I'm really worried about going out because now I'm scared of aliens. Kira Ishii has been indicted for paying salary to a secretary with no duties, as in a secretary that doesn't exist. So what he did is he got a secretary and he arranged for the secretary to be hired, and he didn't hire an actual person. He had his brother-in-law or a relative, I actually now forget, I should have written that part down, sign some papers to say that this person actually existed. There was an 8.28 million yen salary, which made me immediately pause and go, geez, I don't make that much money. I should maybe look into being a secretary in the government and make way more money than I'm actually making. The average salary in Japan is 4 to 5 million yen right now, which is not a lot of money, but most of it goes to taxes and social services and stuff. So you actually can survive a better lifestyle on a lower salary. But man, like this fake secretary that doesn't exist is making almost double the average salary of a person in Japan. Of course, what was actually happening is Ishii himself was managing the bank account of this non-existent secretary, taking that money and then using it for himself. He did this from May 2021 to October 2022 when he actually got caught, and now they're trying to decide what to do with him. Turns out he isn't the first guy to pull this scam. This is fraud, but he's not the first one to do it. So it seems like there have been multiple cases in the past of politicians hiring staff that doesn't exist, arranging for their salary to happen, and then having that salary go into a bank account and just keeping that money. And absolutely, these are the people who should not be in politics. But I think this is the kind of person who goes into politics. Since we're talking fraud, there have been 1,095 fraudulent food delivery orders since 2023 by one person. So when I say 1,095 fraudulent food delivery orders, you would think that was like 1,095 separate cases. Nope, this is just one gigantic case. So this guy was ordering food and then claimed it didn't arrive. In one day, he ordered 16,000 yen's worth of food. So that's got to be lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, about 4,000 or 5,000 yen each meal. I spend, if I go out for a nice lunch, would be 2,000 yen. So he's spending sort of high-end money for each meal. So his breakfast is double my lunch spending. His dinner, like if I went out for a nice dinner, it would be 5,000 yen. So there used to be a sushi place I used to go to. I would go once a month on payday, and I would spend 5,000 yen on this dinner. And that was like a special treat for me because I wasn't making that much money. This guy's spending that much every single meal, almost every day. So he would order food, claim the food did not arrive, and then he would get his money back. So he's getting food and money. He would sign up and cancel his membership once or twice a week. So that was probably to keep it sort of obscure as to the same person ordering and not ordering food. I'm assuming changing his username, changing his email, that kind of stuff. They have estimated in the time since 2023, he has now stolen 3.7 million yen's worth of food. I had a joke when I wrote this story down. I forget it now. A couple weeks ago, the Asahi Group, they produce Asahi Super Dry, which is probably the most famous beer in Japan because it is the beer that gets drunk in every izakaya. They've got massive amounts of advertising. They had a ransomware attack, and they believe it's by a group called Quilin, so Quilin, a hacking group from Russia, and they claim to have stolen 27 gigs of data. Now we're talking like user information, salary information, personal information of staff, things like that. So 27 gigs of essentially just data is massive. It's thousands and thousands and thousands of people. It's probably their like routes, their information of buying and selling, all that kind of stuff. September 29th, the attack caused a failure in their production, so they had to halt production. This cascaded into causing a beer shortage in izakayas over the last couple of weeks. Just recently, they seem to have restarted their manufacturing. So they were basically not producing beer for 3 weeks, maybe total. And this has caused beer shortages in Japan. And of course, there's nothing that runs Japan more. That sentence just went bust in my head. I had something and now it's gone. And now Dave's moving. I'm looking at Dave in the back of the camera. What are you doing, Dave? I think the bed's too hot. The air conditioner's on though. All right. I just want to let Dave settle down. Come on, buddy. Choose a spot. Oh, he's back in his bed. The bed is the safest place in the world. Okay, you got to turn around. 1, 2, 3. Okay, yeah, 3 is pretty standard for him. These attacks, ransomware attacks, are becoming more and more common in Japan. A hospital actually had its system shut down, and the hospital said this was like a natural disaster. We had no longer access to records or schedules or when patients need medicine. All this stuff is kept on computers now, and a lot of these ransomware attacks are happening on smartphones, and a lot of people in Japan don't put any security on their smartphone. So if you're in Japan, if you're at home, not even in Japan, actually get like a VPN for your phone, actually get some, virus software. People think they don't need it. Unfortunately, you absolutely do, because they are going to start trying to hack everything that exists in the world. And if you're connected to the internet in any way, you should be trying to protect yourself. I think you're right. I actually have a smartphone. It's Chinese, so I'm assuming it's already compromised. I mean, more than anything else, the fact that my phone is a Chinese, it's the Poco, so it's from Xiaomi, the Poco brand. It's a really good phone, but I mean, I'm assuming it's directly connected to a Chinese dude. In fact, the fact that I'm using my phone right now as my camera, the camera's quite good compared to my other camera, tells me that, yeah, this is streaming directly to China. I'm hoping I got a lot of Ninja News Japan fans in China more than anything else. I don't know. I actually haven't done it myself. Because I have private internet access as a VPN for my computer, which I do use most days. I think I can put that on a smartphone. I'm not sure. I'll actually check. Ignatz and I are friends, so I know I can share my VPN with multiple computers and smartphones, maybe. So if I can share it for smartphones, I'll just give it to you and you just download it. Some of our mutual friends are actually using my VPN on their computers. So if you'd like to do that, I would be more than happy to share that with you as well, because I think I get 10 computers total. So that might be like 10 devices, because I mean, I pay for it every year. I have no problem sharing. You can tell I'm not American. These are my socialist tendencies. I'm willing to pay for something and share. What? I mean, the only thing you can say is that doesn't sound accurate, but I have worked with many Americans and I can tell you they do not share as freely as people from other countries. Southern Americans are kind and sharing and racist. Yes. Just going to let that sit and percolate for a second. The problem with the South is what you're saying is probably true, but my information, my estimation, my estimation of the South all comes from movies and media, and the only story that comes out of the South is Risa Naka won the Beautiful Legs Award for 2025, which I didn't even know was a contest that was going on, because if I had known, Ninja News Japan would have entered, because the advertising alone would have been awesome. I'm willing to shave my legs. I have legs with character because I have lots of bruises and scars and interesting things that have happened to my legs. I think my legs would actually be more interesting to look at. So they might not be the most beautiful legs, but they would be certainly the legs with the most character. So Risa Naka The only bit I found interesting is what she said. She was coming to the award ceremony and she said, I had 2 massages before the ceremony. Then I had a sauna and then I had a massage right before she came out on stage. And she said, and this was quite honest, my legs might not even be real today. Because she's saying they've been so manipulated to look good, to be like massaged and oiled and all the other things they need to do. That's not what my real legs look like. And then I'm thinking, yeah, me too. So if I go and get multiple massages, shave my legs, oil those babies up, I think we would have to talk about getting a tan of some sort, because again, this pallor that I present, they would be like, oh, those are zombie legs and we don't want that. Zombie legs are never going to win the most beautiful legs award. But I want to enter. So next year, when they have this contest, this is something I need to start doing, is scheduling things for the next year so I can actually enter myself into these things. Even getting rejected would be pretty funny. And I can say that honestly, my legs are real. Mie is a prefecture in Japan, which is like a state. Again, just for people who aren't familiar with the differences, state, province, prefecture, all basically the same thing. So I think the sizes tend to be different more than anything else. In Japan, they have prefectures. Mie is a prefecture in Japan, and they have actually now made an ordinance against customer abuse. So something that's been in the news a lot in Japan recently is customers just abusing staff. Because staff are trained to be so polite, they will take a lot of abuse from customers, which is not okay. So they're saying now, if customers go too far, they're going to get, number one, a warning. And then if they do it again, they're actually going to get a fine. So you kind of get a freebie. What does this include? This includes shouting at staff and demanding apologies. And the way they demand apologies in Japan is you actually have to get down on your knees and do like a deep bow on your knees. And if you do that, then you've apologized. But I think it's one of those things, it's like a power trip. So if they do the thing you tell them to do, then you're going to try to take it further. Because there was a story about some boys and they wanted this kid they were bullying to apologize to them. He apologized to them and said, no, that's not good enough. Get down on your knees. He got down on his knees. No, that's not good enough. Now take off all your clothes. And they wanted to video it and stuff and embarrass him on the internet. This is the problem with power tripping, is if you actually give them anything, that's suddenly not enough. So it's a moving goalpost and you can never actually satisfy them. So this, of course, is then led, and I'm going to say it, older Japanese people into abusing a lot of this stuff. And you get a warning if you do it twice. So first time you get a warning, you get told, do not do this again by the police, by the government. The second time you do it, if you get in trouble for it again, there will be a 500,000 yen fine. That's 500,000 yen. They should actually give the 500,000 yen to the staff. That would totally change their life, and they would be absolutely happy if someone came in. Like, imagine you go in and you're like power tripping on a staff member in like a convenience store or something, and then they just stand there smiling at you because they're just counting money in their head. They're like, oh yeah, there's gonna be 500,000 yen, baby. It's 500,000 yen. I assume convenience store workers make like 3 million yen a year, so a 0.5 on top of that would be a huge windfall for them. Talking money, banks. That was the smoothest transition ever. Japanese banks have been annoyed that people are stealing the free envelopes for money and then selling them on Mercari. People go to the ATM and they get a ton of money out, and then they have these little envelopes that you put your money in. If I want to pay someone, I put it in an envelope and I give it to someone. If I want to give someone a present, money is a much more common present in Japan and Asia than presents are. So if you have a wedding, you give them money. You don't give them a present. If you have New Year's and you want to give kids money, you give them in little red envelopes. So these little envelopes for holding money are just right next to the ATM all the time. So I get my paycheck. I have to give a certain amount of money to my wife so that she can pay bills and stuff. I take that money out. I put it in the envelope, put it in my bag. Then I hand my wife the envelope. This is just sort of a thing. It's kind of rude to give people just a big stack of money, although I would never be offended by Doritos coming and giving me a big stack of money. It's the only American company I support. But every bank has their own sort of design on the envelope. And that means people want to collect them because Japan has this like really weird, heavily focused collecting society. So anything that can be collected gets collected. That's a bit crazy. The thing is, they're free. So why are they selling them on Mercari? Mercari is like where you can sell all kinds of stuff. It's like eBay of Japan. It's because they're selling a set of 150 for 300 yen. So can you be arrested for stealing if you're stealing something that's free? Is actually the big sort of moral question here. I think the answer is the intent is that you only take one or two. So once you abuse that, you are now stealing. So like if I laid out a bunch of stuff and I said, take one, and you took five, that's not following the rules. That could be considered theft. These don't have a sign that says take one, because maybe I need to pay 7 employees. So I need 7 envelopes, one for each employee. That would be fine. So it should have a sign somewhere that says take one per transaction. But it means that people are going into the banks, grabbing all the envelopes, going home, making a nice package out of them, and then trying to sell them on Mercari. The thing is, the sender often pays the post. And so if you're selling 150 envelopes, it's going to cost 200 yen just to send it. So you're not really making any money off it. So this is a very suspicious scam. There must be something else going on here, because the people who are stealing the envelopes aren't making any money by selling the envelopes in any real way. This therefore isn't worthwhile. So that's actually the big question that's sort of flowing around the background of this is, why are they doing it in the first place? There was a survey done of 79 countries, and the question was, if your country went to war, how willing would you be to fight for your country? So Canada's on the verge of war with America right now, with Trump threatening to take over the country and make it the 51st state. The irony being, Canada being a single state would be the biggest state in the United States of America, and I believe with the biggest population. I know California has the biggest economy, but I don't know if they have the biggest population. So the question would be, if Canada is the 51st state, would it have sort of equal balanced votes? Because then it would become the most powerful voting bloc in America. But of course, that's not going to happen, because people like me would stand up for our country. So I absolutely voted yes. If Canada went to war with America, I would sign up right away. I'm too old, so I'm pretty sure I wouldn't get drafted or used. I might actually end up in an admin position, which is fine. I might end up doing a podcast about the war, something like that. That would be where my skills would be most useful. Propaganda. I could push Canadian propaganda. So, yeah. Seems like the Americans are coming over the border. Hey, we got to stop them. So you got to elbows up and do her tour. There you go. There's your taste of Canadian flavor for today. 79 countries were included in the survey. They didn't say how many people from each country. So this could have been like 5 guys from each country. I have no idea. The sample size is actually really important. They did not publish the sample size from each country, because it could have been like we asked thousands of people from country A and 100 people from country B. Those results are skewed. So I'm not putting 100% stock in this, but as a trend, I kind of believe it. So let's do number 1 first, which shows you exactly where Japan is going to fall, this being a Japanese podcast. Vietnam. 96.4% of people surveyed said that they, if Vietnam went to war, would sign up and go to war for Vietnam, which is very patriotic. And considering their history with being invaded by other countries, makes a lot of sense. Japan was in last place, number 79 out of 79, where 13% said yes, 38% said I don't know, and 48.6% said no. I would not go to war for Japan if Japan ended up in a war. That is absolutely not a surprise for me at all. The pacifist nature of Japan isn't just a show. There are like these old diehard people and these guys like Senseiros that like they want to like put the emperor back into power. They want to make Japan the power that it used to be. Again, make Japan great again. Majaga. But the country as a whole doesn't want that. They don't want to support this kind of attitude and idea. And it's one of the reasons that this is a good country, because they do not have these desires. They're not fooling themselves into thinking like Japan should be what it once was. They want Japan to move forward to be a new country, a peaceful country, a country that, helps the world. And I actually personally believe that as well. I actually think Japan really is one of the reasons Japan is a really nice place to live and be and exist, even though half the stories I talk about are people who hate on people like me. There has been a massive surge in bear attacks in northern Japan. They've decided to relax the rules on shooting bears. The problem is, because there's no real gun culture in Japan, there's no real ability to get a gun and practice with a gun, the number of hunters in Japan has been diminished significantly. And as the hunters they have are getting older and retiring or dying off, there are no hunters coming up to replace them because it's not a cool thing to do anymore. So this is a very interesting problem they've created by having a safe society with no gun culture. There is no gun culture of people practicing and hunting. And then when we have wild animals attacking cities, because the problem is the bears are coming into houses, they're coming into supermarkets, and there have been about 7 or 8 deaths this year because bears have been encroaching on sort of human territory. There's no one available to actually go out and shoot the bears. So there have been 71 sightings and 6 deaths, but I think there was another one the other day, which is why I said 7. We know that Ignatz would fight for Japan against the bears. I actually think the bears are going to win is the problem. And then when a country invades Japan and it's just bears, that's a whole different war going on. So first grade game hunter licenses. I have to be very specific because there's different kinds, there's different levels. If you have a gun in Japan, I did find out that you have to go through this like psychological exam. You have to do like a psychological profile. The police are allowed to enter your house at any point. You give up the right to privacy and check on your gun anytime they want. So they could drive by your house and go, hey, let's go check that guy's gun, make sure it's, locked up properly. And you have to let them in, or you lose your license. But in 1976, there were 500,000 people who had a first grade game hunter's licenses. These would be the people who you call if a bear comes into your town and it's out of hand and you got to shoot it. Most of the time, they don't want to shoot the bear. They want to scare it away. They want to catch and release, all the, sort of nice things. Shooting the bear is still the last resort, but to get to that last resort, you have to be able to shoot the bear. In 2012, it was less than 100,000 people. So they've gone from 500,000 to less than 100,000 in 2012. That's the last time they sort of checked. We're 10 years beyond that. It's probably well below the 90, 80, 70, 50,000 licenses. And those guys are probably old, which means they're actually maybe not as good with a gun as they used to be. You used to need police permission to shoot a bear in a town, but now you just need sort of city council to say it's okay and you can go ahead. The reason bears are encroaching on human territory, which I found very interesting because I knew about climate change has reduced the amount of food, and it seems like primarily chestnuts available to the bears. But it also means there are less farmers in Japan, and farmers are apparently the buffer between a city, farm, wilderness. And now that buffer's gone because less people want to be farmers. So the bears are now going into, unused farm territory, walking around at night, and then coming closer to a town very naturally as they hunt for more food because the food that they used to eat in the mountains is now gone because of climate change. So I thought it was just climate change. That was a story I read maybe last year or the year before. But it turns out it's that the less farmers, less people who want to, live a rural lifestyle is also, that was a border keeping the bears away from the cities. The H-3 rocket is a Japanese rocket that goes up into space. It goes to the International Space Station. They do a lot of experiments on the International Space Station. What they want to do is take the ingredients for sake to the International Space Station and try to see if they can make sake in low gravity. They actually want to have the same gravity as the moon so they can then make sake on the moon. And my question is, why? Like, the astronauts on the ISS do not need to get drunk. We do not need drunk astronauts. We don't need sake from the moon. Now, I say that, but I'm a very big proponent of science, and science is often, let's just do a bunch of weird stuff and see what happens. Maybe we discover something by accident. So I'm on board with that as a concept. The problem is, this costs a huge amount of money, so is it worth doing? But of course, you don't know if it's worth doing until after you do it. And they're like, no, can't make sake on the moon, which is very possible. What they're going to do, though, this is kind of cool. They're going to bring the sake back that they make on the International Space Station and then sell it 100 milliliters, which is not very much. Like a drink is usually 250 or 300 milliliters, is going to cost. So 100 milliliters is going to cost 110 million yen, and the proceeds will go to the space program. So they've actually, we're going to do this weird experiment. It's probably pointless because yes, we can or cannot make sake on the moon, does not matter, but we can take this product we made as a result of the experiment, sell it for a massive amount of money. Because again, like I said, 4 to 5 million yen is the average salary in Japan. 110 million yen for 100 milliliters, which is probably one big mouthful of drink. They're going to sell as much of that as they can, put that money back into the space program, and then actually be able to do real science. I'm actually kind of on board with that because rich people spending money on stupid stuff to benefit science, I think that's the way to go. Tora no Ana. So I need to get the name right. This is a website where you can buy doujinshi, which is, sexy comics. I'm just trying to use broad terms so everyone knows what we're talking about. This is one that caters mainly towards women. So it's usually boys love. It's weird that the boy love situation is actually the one for women in Japan. But hey, again, I'm not judging. If you like it, I hope you like it a lot. The problem is Visa and MasterCard have been doing like a monetary version of censorship. So they're saying if you have naked stuff on your site, naughty stuff on your site, XXX site, stuff that we consider bad, we're not going to allow you to use Visa or MasterCard. Now, Visa and MasterCard on the internet is how you pay for pretty much everything. Everything you have is probably connected to a Visa or MasterCard. This is financial censorship. And they're saying this whole business of this website is to sell, dirty comics. So they're saying you can't do your business. And there's been multiple websites that have suffered from the same thing. Like whether I agree with what you're looking at or not, if it's legal, you should be allowed to look at it. Like I don't have to like it for you to look at it. If you want to, you should go ahead. I actually don't really believe in censorship that much. Tora no Ana is actually going to switch to au Pay, which is a payment system on your phone. So I have PayPay on my phone. There's Docomo Pay. I mean, there's tons of payment systems, but these are all local. So the problem is international people will not have an au Pay thing available to them on their phone, so they won't be able to buy this anymore. Now, primarily their market's going to be in Japan. These are Japanese comics designed for Japanese people. It makes perfect sense that they're going to focus on that first and then try to figure out an international solution later. Yeah, so Visa and MasterCard have already suspended their payments since August of last year. So since August of last year, this website hasn't been able to sell anything to anybody using a Visa or MasterCard. So they had to switch to just keep their site alive. There is a different site that also does dirty stuff called DL Site. I'm not recommending this. I'm not sponsoring it, but if they want to throw me some money, I'll take some money. I have PayPay. You can't use Visa or MasterCard. They made their own payment system. So this is like a dirty website's like, we're going to make essentially a cryptocurrency. It's not, but because it won't be speculative in any way, you're going to put X amount of money in, get credits. You can use those credits to buy your dirty magazines or comics or whatever. They're calling it the Mina no Ginko payment, which is everybody's bank payment. It's probably just a bank transfer system that's actually a lot simpler. And that is their solution to the Visa and MasterCard trying to tell them they can't sell dirty stuff. And I think what we're going to end up with is just a dirty credit card. So you're going to have your regular credit card and your sexy credit card or something like that. I think Playboy tried to come out with a cryptocurrency that was for like porn sites and stuff. Playboy coin. That didn't go very far because the problem is if you want to hide the fact that you are buying dirty stuff, which there is a social stigma attached to it, even though I'm pretty sure everyone who's ever looked at the internet has looked at dirty stuff. So there's nothing to really be ashamed of anymore. I think that having a credit card connected to dirty stuff or cryptocurrency connected to dirty stuff immediately leaves you in the exact same position of everyone knowing that you look at dirty stuff. So using a payment system like PayPay or au Pay actually does make a lot of sense because pretty much every convenience store takes them. Like I use my phone 98% of the time. Like I barely use cash anymore because every store I go into in Japan takes PayPay. And I mean, if I want to buy some dirty stuff, let me buy some dirty stuff.